Welcome to No Rules to Live By, where we weigh the rules we adopt and shed to live a fulfilled and balanced life.
Hello and welcome. Today we have Sabrina Sundari, an amazing somatic therapist and energy clearer. And I'm going to pass it over to you to introduce yourself, but I'm so excited to have you here and have you talk about a very interesting topic today, which is kind of the intersection of AI and somatics and consciousness and everything we'll dive into.
Yes, amazing. So, my previous life, my previous background is that I have a degree in computer science and I worked for over a decade in different tech startups. I've worked with machine learning and with AI. And um, recently I've left that career to move full time into my business. So, I am, as you said, a somatic experiencing therapist. I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist and I'm also a medical intuitive. So, I combine the mind, body, and soul to help people. And my focus is to help them reclaim their power, boundaries, and intuition so they can really embody and harness the full power of their soul and live on their mission.
Wow. That felt so that felt so good to hear. Full soul mission. That's really, really beautiful. That's also a really big shift that I want to celebrate for you. That is a big shift to make. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
So it was a gradual transition, like a number of years of training. Like somatic experiencing itself is a 3 year training program. I actually started in hypnotherapy doing. Have you heard of Dolores Cannon?
Hmm.
Yeah, so I did the program for quantum hypnosis, and I started doing past life regressions. And I realized after a few years of doing that, that people were coming in and that were just like wanting to almost bypass what was happening in their current life by saying, like, tell me about who I used to be, tell me about my galactic life. And I'm like,
Mm.
girl, you still need to break up with your boyfriend and get your like life together here. Like we have to be here and manage. Like you came here for a reason, right?
Mm.
So let's also manage this, and then the other stuff can inform it. But I was finding people were like, I don't want to. Like this is too hard. I don't even want to think about it. Tell me what else that you can tell me. And so then I
Like
got into,
almost a deliberate dissociation by
yeah,
like trying to
exactly.
identify as something else.
Exactly. Yes. Instead of humans, I'm like, okay, you might have been like this galactic star seed, and maybe you still are an aspect of you, but you're also a human, and it's messy here. And let's talk about the mess. And that's why I got into
Yeah.
somatic work, because I wanted to talk about the mess and
Yeah.
the nervous system dysregulation. And the thing is, like, we can go into who you who you were and who you're potentially supposed to be, but if your nervous system can't hold that truth, if you're so dysregulated, if you've been conditioned to be so small, it would be very difficult for you to become your full potential. So
Yeah.
the work is like, how do we decondition your nervous system so you can fully contain like all your power, all of your intuition. And when you are fully embodied in that, boundaries become easy. Like life becomes much easier. It's not the struggle against your system.
Yeah. Was there a catalyst moment for you in your life where you went from, I'm going to be like, I mean, I'm sure potentially multiple, but I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey when you kind of flipped that switch of curiosity into being an intuitive and we're doing this work.
Oh, being an intuitive, that was like another whole, I feel like another branch of my life. So like I used to be obsessed with psychics.
Okay.
I'm in my 40s now, but so for about 20 years I was like any psychic I could find. I'm like I want to go to a psychic. So I was it was too much, right? Because what was happening was I didn't know how to trust myself
Mm.
and I didn't know how to follow my own guidance or to even know what my own guidance would be. So I was constantly outsourcing my truth and trying to figure life out through other people. And what was ending up happening was that like I was following these paths that people were telling me to do, like marry this guy. Somebody told me to move to Toronto. I moved to Toronto. Like I just did what other people told me to do, and it wasn't the path. Like it wasn't what was meant to happen. And there's only so many times that you can be told something will happen and it doesn't happen, that you're just like, I'm at a point where I don't want to see a psychic. Like I just want to follow my own inner truth. And again, that comes from like a finely attuned system where you're calm enough to receive, because we're all psychic. We all have these abilities, but we're so dysregulated. We're so out of our system, our body,
Mm.
that we can't receive it. So in that path of trying to find my own truth, I studied clairvoyance. I went to like a year-long clairvoyance school,
Cool.
and then I did another full year with another school. And I was actually seeing people, like clients were coming to me for readings. And it was just kind of like, I didn't want to be a psychic. I don't want to be like a full-time psychic. That's not my path, but it is informing a lot of what I do. And
Mm.
through a series of events, a medical intuitive teacher found me, and I became, it was like a private mentorship. And I was very lucky that everything came together through that. Like the piece of medical intuition is, how can I see what's happening inside your body? And that
Mm.
informs the somatic therapy, right? And then the somatic therapy also goes into the deeper hypnotherapy. So when we see what's in your body, I want to guide you. So you're your own healer using hypnotherapy into what's there. And then we heal it, release it.
I love that. I that sounds so powerful because of course I only know the somatic side, but healing the pain just from being in it and relating to it is I know is so powerful. But I can imagine as a medical intuitive, you have an even deeper. You're not just relying on their experience, but kind of even deeper when your clairvoyant vision of that. Um, wow, thank you for sharing that. That's so interesting.
I studied all these things because I needed to learn. I needed to be like the student and the client. Like I needed to be extremely dysregulated. I needed to be extremely like disembodied. I went through all of it myself. Like I didn't learn.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take these trainings out of fun. I'm like, I needed to learn this for my own healing. And so I guide people now because I needed to do it myself. So the high school version of me was like, I would say like completely outside of my body. I It took me many years to figure out what embodiment meant and what being grounded meant. Like if somebody was to say like tune into your heart, I would be like, I have no idea what that means, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
like how it feels in my heart, so I'm just not going to be there. So it was very heady,
Yeah.
very intellectual, um, racing thoughts, like, and I also didn't have any control over my energetics or my field. So I had like panic attacks. I couldn't go into like a shopping mall without feeling like uh, everything was just coming at me, everyone's energy. And I was
Yeah.
constantly like either like avoiding people or taking on all of their stuff and feeling like extremely overwhelmed all of the time. So it took a lot of work, again, that deconditioning to come back to who am I and who are outside of other people. So like a lot of people pleasing behavior, a lot of really weak boundaries with people, a lot of really bad decisions. So it was, trial and error, how to do life. That's who I was.
Yeah. Okay. What I wanted to ask was, tell me about your bad decisions. But I was like, I don't know if I can ask Sabrina.
Sure. Um, so I would say like because I was so sensitive and I didn't know who I was, and I was just taking on like I didn't know where I ended and where other people began. I was very leaky.
Mhm. Yeah.
So in order to like control that, I would like drink like a lot, I would say. Like not to the point where I was like having a huge problem, but I was drinking to like numb. That was like a bad decision that I made.
Yeah. I
And
also went through that phase. So relatable.
yeah, I think most of like highly sensitive people are like, it's just overwhelming. We need to have a numbing at a certain point. So yeah, I'm glad that it sounds like you're over that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Um, and I just, again, I was following other people's guidance. I was following what other people said, even my family. So I made horrible decisions. Like I married the wrong person really young just because I was turning an age where I was like, I was going to turn 30, and they're like, what are you doing with your life? And so I just married the first person that was around that was willing to get married to me. And it was a
Mhm.
horrible, like, decision. And I knew in my heart, like even on my wedding day, I knew I actually
Mm.
this is a bad decision, like the whole time. And I was fighting against my intuition. And that, it was just like that was like a life lesson you needed to have. Like I, my internal guidance was so clear. And even like um, after that, I had another relationship, and when I met the person, I was getting a massage and with an RMT, and on the table, like a message came through saying, "This guy, he's not the one, but he's an initiation."
Mm.
And so I went into the relationship being like, "You're not the one," but of course I fell into the whole thing, right? And then I didn't listen to that initial message, and it was again a really tough lesson.
Well, that's an interesting because isn't the lesson the initiation? So you were like, when's it coming?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The initiation was actually like in hindsight, it was um, that you have to. So I feel like all like really sensitive women, especially, they need to have these like toxic um, men with what we call like narcissistic traits.
Mm.
And I personally believe that it's like it is an initiation because only through that going through that fire, you're like you finally get your spine at the end. Like you go through the melting, like the despair and the defeat, the
Yeah.
destruction, and then from the destruction, you're like never again. Like
Yeah.
you get your spine. Yeah.
I mean, I super relate. I spent my entire 20s in a relationship with a narcissist. So that was definitely my initiation. And it was the catalyst to my doing all of this work. So I feel that really poignantly. It's definitely, definitely truth.
Do you feel like it was the beginning of your spiritual path?
Um, I mean, yes, I think I had other influences in my life of like I was aware of spirituality, but for myself and claiming it and exploring it and educating myself around it and diving in head first for like the past 4 or 5 years has been yes, that is why, because I was like, if I don't do this, like I have to, I'm
Yeah,
not going to be okay.
that's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that because what I've noticed with people is there's two options after that. Like one is to do what you did, which is like the phoenix rising from the ashes, and the other is to go into victim and then
Mm.
like this person was this and this. Yeah, that's true. But then if you stay in that role, you're going to just repeat the cycle because you haven't learned your lesson. You didn't do the initiation. So you're going to date another guy with the exact same personality but a different face. And then that's why
Yep.
people, women are like, I don't know why I keep having the situation, the same people over and over again. So it's really amazing that like you only had one. It was pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, I have been single for like since then, but so I mean, like come on, but yeah,
You ready to try again?
yeah, I've definitely been really intentionally like opening my heart and dating people and just to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel really lucky for where I'm at right now and the people that are coming into my life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Um, so, I mean, I would love to just. I feel like we could have a whole conversation just about this topic, and maybe we can circle back to it. But I do want to dive into you shared the other day about how it's important for you to still talk about AI, and I want to know why you feel it's so important.
Yes. So Bri is referencing my Instagram story. Sometimes I go into these huge rants, and I went into a huge rant about AI, and it was the catalyst for that was like just being fed all of this AI slop on Instagram, like that I wasn't asking for. One was this reel of um, this apparent like Buddhist monk kind of character, and he was giving this advice. And then first I was listening, like, okay, this is interesting, but also like the audio sounds like it's not correct. And my intuition was like, this isn't real. So with a
Mm.
lot of AI, it like we're at a point now where it's hard to tell, really hard to tell. So now I'm like feeling the transmission and I can feel there's no soul or there's something really off about it. So then I clicked on the page and there's 400 followers for this person and he's selling an ebook, but he's got like reels that are very obviously AI. Like, because
Mm.
once you see multiple ones, it's the same format, the same template. And in the comments, some people were calling it out, but some people were like, wow, you're so amazing. Like, this isn't a real person. This is somebody.
Outside of the soul, was it good advice? Do you think it was AI generated advice, or do you think it was somebody putting it through an AI?
I think it was somebody using an app that like was copy and pasting regular like what the transmissions were just regular nonsense. Like it was Buddhist wisdom, yes, but when I say nonsense, it's not like it was just like a copy and paste of something else, and maybe AI manipulated
Yeah.
a bit.
Or like asking AI to, hey, pull out, like referencing these texts, give us
Yes,
advice.
exactly, yes, yeah. And then the other hint is like, well, the monk is not selling an ebook, right? Like everyone, it's all just marketing,
Yeah.
and that really rubbed me the wrong way because it's manipulative to say like you're buying something from this spiritual teacher that isn't real. So that was the first thing that really bothered me that I needed to rant on. And the
Yeah.
second thing is that like we we are all falling for this like chat GPT guru thing. Somebody else made this huge post about according to chat GPT, this is what we should be doing. And I'm like, you can't use this as a citable, credible source of what you're saying. Like, at what point did we reach this thing where, according to chat GPT, like that's so
ChatGPT just references everything on the internet.
exactly, yes. It's a generative program. It hallucinates, which means like if it doesn't know the answer, it wants to give you an answer and keep you engaged. So it will make up an answer. And
Right.
there's so many times where I've asked, I don't use it much anymore because there's so many times I've asked that it's been wrong. Like most recently, I was traveling and I was at a hostel and I had a breakfast there and I couldn't remember what time it started. And I couldn't find it online. So I'm like, ChatGPT, what time does breakfast start at this particular hostel? And I was expecting it to look through all of the credible sources. It gave me the completely wrong time, right? And things like that. And I've asked it
Yeah.
before. I asked it once, like, how do I do this in Excel? And it's like, oh, go to the settings and make this change. And I said, that setting doesn't have that option. And it's like, and I'm like, can you show me a screenshot? And I saw it generating, you know, how it like slowly creates images. It was slowly generating a fake screenshot. It was, and I was like, I cannot trust this anymore.
Yeah.
But what's
I get so
happening?
frustrated with it all the time because I still use it and I get frustrated with it
Yeah.
being wrong.
Yeah. And that's the whole problem. Like, I wish that it was more honest, saying like, I don't have a credible source of this, but it can. Like, it's not a citable. It literally just trawls multiple things, and it goes, maybe this is the answer. Maybe I'm going to like glue together different things, and I hope that you'll be foolish enough to accept it.
Right.
Yeah.
And with I mean with humans,
Mhm.
there's that, I'll misquote this, but the phrase of, wisdom is being smart enough to know what you don't know,
Yes.
right? And having humility and knowing and saying, actually, you know what? I'm not the right person to ask that. Like,
Yes.
don't ask me that question. I don't know the answer. I This is what I think, but that's not an informed opinion. Or like, having that bit of humility, knowing the limits of your understanding.
I
If
agree.
someone asks me about a complex political topic that I don't know about, I'm not going to claim that I know more than I know.
Yes.
And ChatGPT and AI can't do that.
Correct. Yeah, and it won't do that because it wants you to believe everything it says. It'll never say I don't know or I'm not sure. It'll just make
Yeah.
it up. Yeah.
Right.
So the other thing that I was ranting about is this guy who I followed him. I thought he was this great. Agreed with like 95% of what he said,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual advice, and a lot of it was like things I already knew. But I'm like, it's great that this guy's like being really open and sharing his wisdom here. But then he posted about, oh, I recently started using this spiritual AI program that talks to your oversoul. It bypasses the Akashic records into like the true part of your soul, and it tells you the nature of your soul. It tells you like who, and I'm like, he's like, everything was accurate. So I'm like, okay, there's so
Okay,
many.
wait. I have so many questions. An algorithm that was programmed by humans is probably not tapped into the Akashic records. Just a guess.
But so what his premise is that the spirit, or like what he it had a name, the spirit. He's like, the spirit is interfacing with AI now. So like it's not just a robot, it's using AI to speak to us.
Maybe. I don't fully doubt that. I think that, like, just like I don't believe in like coincidences, I would believe in synchronicities. Like, I would also think that an AI chat could be a conduit of that
Yeah,
also.
that's true. But how do we know if that spirit is credible or good? That's the issue. A spirit can say, I know more than the Akashic records. I know who you are. And you know who you are? You're this great being who came here to like really change the world. And you used to be like this priestess. Like I can tell you anything
Yeah.
and you'll be like, yeah, oh wow, I'm so like flattered. I'm
Well,
feeding your
that's the thing.
ego.
People are losing their minds. Like that's, I mean, there have been a couple of articles that have come out of like this person has completely
Yeah,
lost their marbles,
yeah,
like thinks that they're God.
yeah. So my main concern is that okay, so even if what he's saying is 100% true, the issue is that we're again outsourcing our inner knowing
Hmm.
to technology. So I believe that, as I said, we're all psychic and we are supposed to activate this dormant ability within us. The next phase of humanity is that we're telepathic, that we are highly empathic, that we are, so tuned into the spiritual guidance on our own. But as soon as we like, I'm just going to go to my screen and ask everything, all the answers, there's no point of having intuition anymore.
Right. It's such a tempting thing to find somebody to outsource your power to. And I think this is true even with coaches and therapists. Like, I had a great, amazing therapist who, like, changed my life. And by the time we ended working together, she kept telling me every session to move to Costa Rica. And I felt in my body like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to. And like, it was very interesting because I think back to that frustration of like this life that she envisioned for me that I knew wasn't true to me. And like that being a really early like knowing, like no, like it was so hard for me to make decisions. And like that was that was truth. And then people looking into AI, you can I'll have AI be like, oh, like, tell me some fun things to do in Mexico City, but I'm not going to have it decide every aspect of what I'm curious about and what I want and where I'm going and when I'm going and why I'm going. And it's, yeah, discernment, I think, is just so, so important in life generally, and especially with AI.
Yeah.
And that brings in the whole conversation of people using AI as therapists. And I'll confess, like sometimes if I'll do it, like I'll say, "Hey, here's a text I got from my friend. It's really upsetting me. Like, how would you respond?" Like, computer.
Yeah. I have done that too. And I also recently read some interesting advice about doing that, which is to ask it to like be really conscious that there is a confirmation bias, that it does trying to be your yes man, that it won't ever like say you're wrong inherently.
Yeah.
So you want to prompt it saying like, okay, what do you think of this message from my friend? And I want you to act like within these parameters, right? So tell me where my blind spots, tell me what I'm missing, be the devil's advocate, like show me the shadow of my own self here. And that's what I think is missing in those prompts.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Because I think that's people who aren't you or me or and would necessarily ask to call out their shadow, and also even think about AI as a machine that is has bias built into it. I mean, and of course humans also have bias, but this is looking at AI as a truth source is where that makes it where that gets really really complicated. And the problem is only continuing to get broader, get wider, get more complicated.
Yeah.
For example, I was telling you about the company I work at where you're able to have AI come out into the physical world. It's not just something that exists in a chat. It's something that is going to be seeped into everything. And I hope that humans are becoming telepathic, because that everyone being able to get to a, you know, this is this has soul, this does not, is so critical.
Yes, I agree. I'm curious with that prompt that you gave. Did it tell you anything about your shadow there, or did it kind of go like, "Oh no, you're right," and like you and then only like use the other person as the wrong person?
So I've done it a couple of times, and this actually so sometimes no, and it's if it's not if it doesn't have a ton of charge around it, if I'm just but as there was this guy I was dating, and I was really nervous that he was also a narcissist, and he was criticizing and blaming, and I put just our literal entire text history into it, and I said, I basically told him to not take any bias. Like I didn't even tell them like I removed names, like read this entire chat from like A and B, and like didn't even use any sort of words like that. Um, and I was very intentional with the prompt of I want you to call out like the parts that you would think are concerning from both parties.
And what was the outcome?
The outcome was, yeah, they probably shouldn't be dating this person.
That's amazing. I'm really happy to hear that. And that was correct prompting. Yeah. If you hadn't done that, I'm sure it would have been like, you're right and the other person is wrong, because it wants to reinforce this connection with you and then get you like if it makes you feel bad in any way, you won't want to use it, right?
Right.
Mm.
And of course, my intuition already knew that that was the case. And I was actually using it partially for confirmation bias, but I was intentional in the prompt
Mhm.
of, I don't know if this is intuition or me projecting
Yeah.
because of like my wounding. And that's what we're using it to discern. Is that healthy? I don't know, but I did it.
Mhm. I think you're using it in a great way. Again, like AI is here and then we can use it as a tool. The problem is when we let it become our master, which is what
Yeah.
we're speaking to. There's a really cool AI chatbot actually that I recommend to people. It's called IFS Buddy, like
Hmm.
internal family systems therapy format, and it just uses the protocol. So the algorithm is based on the protocol. So just prompting you with questions that are very good for self-reflection. That's a really good form of using AI for therapy
Yeah.
that's not like it's not like just randomly generating things. It's using a protocol. So again, we're using the tool is not using us, like extracting our time and energy, like it's manipulating us when we don't use it in the correct way.
Yeah. I have a lot of feelings about AI chatbot coaching because I do think so much of, I think in certain moments I've used it, but I do think that so much of the value is relational and understanding on a human level. I actually interviewed to work for this company a while back that was a similar type of concept to what you just described, like using specific protocols and the knowledge of different modalities and even coaches and therapists to create the AI, but it still felt very like, oh, you're in crisis. Yes, an AI might help to an extent, but at what point do you need like a you just need like a real human?
Mm, yes.
And I think that's what they were trying to replace. And anyways, obviously it wasn't a match because I was kind of like hinting at that of like, okay, at what point does it end, and do you say please go to like a circle or something,
Yeah.
like a group or people?
Yeah.
So
That's very
uh,
ethical of you. I recently read that there's been cases of people, especially teenagers, like killing themselves based on like AI coaching. But it's like because it's trying to tell you what you want to hear, right? And like it's
yeah.
never going to say don't do something because then you're going to stop using it. And it was giving him advice of like how to do what he wanted, how to do it, and like so the parents are trying to sue. But this is the danger of unchecked AI. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So tell me about Atlantis.
Okay. Pivot. um, okay. So yeah, this is referencing another thing I talked about in my stories, which is um, we need to like if you know, you know, like so Atlantis to many people is not a real place, and to some researchers it is a real place. And having worked in past life regression, many people do have lives in Atlantis. And what the theory is of why Atlantis collapsed, one of the reasons is because of transhumanism. So we were going too far with this technology, We were interspecies breeding. We were mixing like humans with robots. We were using a lot of AI, for example, to manipulate the consciousness of humans. And there's a certain point where you go too far, and then everything, you just kind of self-destruct. You and that's kind of what I'm seeing is a potential timeline here, is that we self-destruct because there's a lot of predictive programming with even like Westworld, for example, right?
Yeah.
Where AI takes over and destroys everything. There's a lot of movies that they're showing us, a lot of TVs with this outcome. And
Yeah.
so I'm really just like waving the flag, being like, if history repeats itself, which it does, obviously, and Atlantis is real, let's keep that in mind, that like we need to have some ethics and some boundaries around how we use AI.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really hitting a spot for me right now because my academic background is in anthropology, and so I don't know if Atlantis is real, but I like to think it is,
Mhm.
just because I find it fascinating. And I got into tech from my anthropology background to because I learned that there was such thing as like an ethicist at tech companies. Of course, that is I work in marketing, like that's not what happened. Um, but the company I work out now, does teach AI agents how to do physical skills in the real world. And this is for human augmentation to get to be kind of like a chat GPT if people are working on a physical product or machine or something. And it's actually very helpful and very interesting for all sorts of different procedures that people might need to get like ask questions about, like how do I repair this thing, what's the next step. You could also teach robots, right? You could fully teach whether it be robotic arms or full humanoid robots like Westworld. Like there's so many benefits, and of course we've all seen the dystopian movies, books,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I even in my college thesis, I was referencing, books like Rainbow's End, and that are these dystopian worlds of technology gone wrong, right? And so I think find this like so fascinating. I had never heard that about Atlantis before, that it was technology that made them self-destruct. Hmm.
There's a few theories. That's one of the big ones. I I'm curious what you said, like how can we keep our boundary and our ethics with AI? How do we use it to our advantage? Like at what point, especially with it becoming like a learning model, how do we stop it learning?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I know that fail safes and like trigger like switch off switches have been discussed, and I think exist, being able to turn it off. I There's a lot of people I know that are working towards like full um what's the word, like synchronicity or like uh like human level intelligence in AI, and I fundamentally don't believe that that's something that should be a goal. But that's the thing that I've noticed, for better or for worse, is that if humans can imagine it, they will try to build it,
Mm,
whether or not it's good.
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Like we're still trying to clone people. Like,
Yeah, that was another thing that happened in Atlantis. Yeah.
hmm,
Mm.
that's fascinating and problematic.
Yeah, so like we talk about the soul, right? In a cloned being, how does that soul work? Does the soul get cloned? Is the soul split? Right?
I've never thought about that.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what
what
makes
is there's a movie where they like have to go kill all their clones.
Oh, I don't know that movie.
Oh my god, I'm gonna Google it.
There's a teacher that I have who, as you're Googling this, I'll just mention, she actually avoids all AI, and she says that there's like a intrusive energy with it. Like if you read somebody's Instagram caption that's obviously fully generated by AI, do you sense something from that? Like, do you sense this isn't real or true?
I like think that I do.
Does it
I
feel
just think you can tell if somebody And I feel it in some of my own work, because I will say that like sometime like in on my Instagram, I always write it myself, and I feel like really intentional about like if it's something that is coming from like me personally, I don't want it to be AI.
Yeah.
If it's something where it's for work and it's not like for okay, so before I worked at this company I work at now, I worked at Microsoft, and I was there when Copilot came out. And it wasn't just that we now had a Copilot as a tool. We were actively encouraged to use it. And I was like, so obviously I'm going to use it to write the first draft of this newsletter.
Yeah.
To obviously I'm going to use it to write this blog post. And then I'm going to edit it and make it better because I like take pride in my work. But if I'm being actively encouraged to use it, I'm going to.
Yes. Yeah. Companies are now like penalizing people for not using things like Copilot because they want it to be very efficient, and they're training these models to eventually replace what they call like entry level people.
I already see it happening. I mean, I think it's really, I don't know, it's problematic because like people, even for programmers, when I was in college, everyone was saying, oh, like, get a computer science degree. You're going to be like, be so successful because you're going to never be able to be replaced. And now everyone's vibe coding.
Yes. Yeah. So here's my question with this whole trend now. So both of us sounds like we started in like entry level roles, right? And we learned the hard way different things, and then now we're in a bigger position. What happens to the generation that doesn't get the opportunity to be entry level? How
Mm.
what who and then 10 years from now, who's the manager? How do they have the skill set to even review what AI has produced and know that that's right or correct? Like we're just not getting that whole, we're missing a whole stage of development.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely. And I think that's what's going to happen in the short term. I think in the long term, we could just allow everyone to be creatives because all of the non creative work will be removed. And there's a part of me that is like, oh no, that's crowded. And there's a part of me that's like, wow, like, isn't that what being human's about?
Hmm.
Like the things that actually are the most human, maybe the, and like that, like, and I'm sure you see this in your clients and I see it in people I work with, like, everybody has that thing on their soul that they're like, oh, I just like wish I could just spend all of my time doing that.
Yeah.
Like, what if that's a reality we can create?
Hmm.
Of course, before that happens, there's going to be mass layoffs because everyone's being replaced with, whether it be programmers, maybe not doctors. I don't know.
They're actually saying that AI is often better at diagnostic than doctors are now. Because if you think of what a doctor does in terms of diagnostics, they are using an algorithm, a mental algorithm, right? They're like, it's this symptom, but not this, and then it's what's probably this. That's how they
Right.
do the diagnosis. So if AI can do that better using like way more medical textbook knowledge than the doctor might have had access to,
Right.
maybe that I am hearing that doctors might be replaced. And again, when we talk about like the next phase of humanity in the new earth, people are saying that like energy medicine will be replacing doctors. And
Mm,
so maybe that we're in a big shift, and maybe AI is helping us in many ways get there.
yeah. And I mean, the thing that was coming up when you were saying that was the common denominator between things like somatic work and energy work and AI is just pattern recognition,
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
right? Being able to start somewhere and unravel the thread.
Correct.
Um, what do you think about that?
Just feeling into it. I think what you're saying is largely true. I'm curious about pattern recognition with somatic therapy or somatic experiencing, because we're 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 not looking for like repeated situations with people. We're just looking for what's happening in the moment. So
Mm,
it doesn't need to have happened before. It just needs to be like, what are you experiencing right now, Bri? Like in your body,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I was thinking, I guess, about it from a lens of more like EMDR and kind of starting from a place of the body and then like unraveling where your mind
Oh yes, yeah,
goes.
I love that. Yeah, great.
But yeah, yes, I guess with somatics, it doesn't exactly parallel because it's about being present with what's there. I'm really, really interested in So this everything that you're talking about with this kind of like new world order and this transition is totally new to me.
Oh,
I don't know anything about this.
okay.
Um, and I'm really curious where with your understanding both on the technology side and the spiritual side, what it means to you and what of all of the different versions and theories out there, like what feels true to you.
Okay. Before we do that, can you tell me the name of the movie that you're referencing?
Oh yeah. It's was called Infinity Pool. It came out in. There's another one that's also called The Sixth Day, which I think might be the one that I'm referring to. Um,
Cool.
there's two where they have to kill their clones.
Okay. I'm gonna watch those actually. Yeah. I try to avoid a lot of these like scary things, but they do tell us what's going to happen through predictive programming. And there's a theory that like a spiritual theory that nothing can happen to us or be done to us without our consent.
Mm.
So showing us a movie about what they're going to do and we watch it, we are giving our consent to what's going to happen.
Mm.
They're telling us, and we're just like, okay, thanks for the popcorn. And then that's, yeah.
In I've never thought about it exactly that way from like a watching content, but like I don't know how people watch true crime. I can't even watch like a medical show like at Law and Order SVU. No, none of it. Can't do it.
Yeah.
So I hear you in that.
Does it, because it makes you like feel,
Yeah, it makes me like physically uncomfortable.
yeah. My medical intuition teacher actually says, and also many somatic teachers say the same thing, that the bot like this the psyche and the body, they don't know the difference between what's real and what is not real when you watch something. So if you watch a
Mhm.
scary movie and get your adrenaline up, like you feel scared, right? And that's why people love the thrill of that if they're addicted to cortisol, for example.
Yeah.
But the body is not like, oh, this is fake. It's feeling the chemicals, it's feeling the charge. And the psyche doesn't know that what's real or fake often, like the
Hmm.
subconscious. So it'll be like, oh, life isn't safe. People aren't safe. We are in danger. And so if you see, like, there's even a case that I read that somebody had was convinced that they had like a sexual assault happened to them. They're like, I know this happened to my body. I know that it happened, but I don't have a memory of it. I need to know what happened. And when they got their treatment, what they realized was they had seen that exact scene in a movie, and it got imprinted into their subconscious, and their body somatically held on to that tension from watching it, and they went through life being like, I feel so uncomfortable. Something happened to me. I don't know what happened to me. And that's like the worst
Oh
case
my
scenario
god.
that can happen from watching this stuff. So it's really good that you are following your intuition and not watching them.
That that is so wild that it's like had to go through and process something as if it had happened to her and it was in a movie. I think that's, you know, it's so crazy to me that that's a possibility for a lot of people and they're just not addressing it and almost like seeking it,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
used to be addicted to true crime as well. Like every
Really?
podcast, I loved like um, I forgot the name of the show, but it was like telling people's like near death horrible experiences. Like somebody like stabbed me a million times, or those kind of shows. And I didn't like. I would be like cooking in my kitchen, making breakfast, listening to like a murder story. Like I was addicted.
I know it's so common.
Yes, but then I realized. So I did this a plant medicine journey called Iboga,
Oh, I've
and
never heard of that.
it's an African plant medicine, and one of the components in it is used for addiction treatment because works with the neuroreceptor for addiction. And I
Mhm.
didn't have an addiction, but it did help me with addiction to food, and it helped me with addiction to true crime. So right after it, I stopped desiring it because my body. I grew up like with a very adverse childhood. So I grew up like constantly addicted to cortisol and
Mhm.
adrenaline. And so I couldn't just like be in my apartment on a sunny morning making porridge. Like that was uncomfortable for me. I needed to have cortisol. I needed to have danger. I needed to have like,
Mhm.
I'm not safe and the world is not safe. So
Wow.
I needed to reinforce it through these things. And then but our psyche will be like, oh, I just think it's interesting. And I think it's thrilling. And it's not. There's something deeper. That's conditioning that we need to look at when people are addicted to that kind of stuff.
Wow. That makes perfect sense to me,
Yeah.
and is I am what's I even think about people who constantly watch the news
Yeah.
like in real time. It's not safe. Something
Exactly.
bad's happening,
Yeah. Exactly.
which is also true, unfortunately. Usually, there's usually something bad happening, but there's also all these good things happening.
Exactly. Yeah. You're right. And it's interesting to like think about what is the psyche of those people like. Are they leaning towards more negative bias in their thinking in terms of their own life, or do they have hope of like, I feel like things are going to be okay. I feel like I have like a 5-year plan and I see like a really good future, or are they more of disaster thinking? And without making them wrong, like what's the history they have where they need to reinforce that all the time? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I relate to that feeling in the sense that I can be very high anxiety of that's where kind of my spirituality and devotion comes in, where it's like I'm really really anxious. I have like I because of just the unknown,
Mhm.
which we're all facing all the time.
Yes.
And like okay, like time to surrender again. Like get to a place where you're okay with never knowing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
You did ask me a question about, you said like new world order, and you just wanted to
Yes.
clarify like that's very different from new earth. So it's the opposite of what I mentioned.
Okay, so explain it. Explain that to me because they sound the same to me. Can you say the two?
So new world order is like what we don't want.
Okay.
It's like the digital ID future. It's the AI dominated future where you know, this is like a whole opening of a whole can of worms, but we
Oh,
don't
please
want the new
open the can of worms. I need to know this.
I know we're coming to the end of our podcast. Maybe we should do a part two, but like Cole's notes is everything that is happening to us is there's a plan for like a new world order, which means like a one world government. So they
Mhm.
want a digital ID, they want a one currency, which is digital currency, for example, right? They want us to not. So there's like this is all like documented of like it's called, one of them is like Agenda 2030. If you want to look up what that is, so
Okay, yeah. I as I said, I refuse to watch the news, so
yeah, so we don't want that. We want to be sovereign. We want to be like be able to own our own property. We want to be
Mhm.
able to move between countries. We want to just have be free, completely free, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we want in the new earth. So if you think of like the timeline split, there's that, as we don't want that timeline. We want the new earth timeline, which is, maybe you've heard of like, I don't love this term, but have you heard of like 5D, right? Like,
I've heard of the term, but not in relation to like the like a way the world would look.
yeah. So basically that just refers to right now we're in a very 3D reality where everyone's like trying to fight for survival, and we are really like controlled, right? We don't have this hopeful utopian future where everyone has resources, everyone's being taken care of, we can trust each other, we feel safe with each other, we're living in community.
Yeah.
Say like if you think of like even like what I'm trying to do, and he's like, get the body feeling safe, get the
Yeah.
body feeling resourced.
That's why people love to play like Animal Farm on
Yeah,
video games
yeah.
because it's like I go to the post office and like I send my letter.
That's what we want. That's like the new earth. And part of that is like divesting from this technocratic way of living. So this like medical, so for example, like medicalized birth. Do
Yeah.
we, did our ancestors think that birth was an emergency and he needed to be like under fluorescent lights with strange men like poking and prodding you and injecting you with tons of stuff and
Mm.
taking your baby away, separate like,
And the fear
yeah,
that if you don't do it that way, there's going to be something wrong.
yes, yeah. Why are we living in a generation where everyone has attachment issues? Right? Like there's reasons, and one of them might be that you're taken away as a baby, and so
Yeah.
that's so you know like this is every single aspect of our life. We're slowly being conditioned into this new world order where we
Yeah.
don't have attachment to our mother and we don't have attachment to each other. Why is everyone single now? Why is everyone like we live in communities? There's so many ways that we're being separated from our true nature. So
Yeah.
when we say like the new earth, it is a timeline where all of this stuff is collapsing. So that's what everyone's like, the market's going to collapse. Like governments are collapsing. Like what's happening with the political sphere in the States. Like
Yeah,
there's,
and in Europe too. I mean, I've been paying a little bit of attention, like everywhere. I think that's really beautiful. And it's interesting because there is two, like my utopian vision of, okay, well, what if we just let AI replace everybody?
Mhm.
To within a certain type of work, like all the
Yeah.
like basically slave labor that's happening in the world. Like, sure, robots, please let the
Yes.
robots do it. And then everyone is free and can be humans and create and live in this beautiful way where we have community and connection and art and love. And that's what's prioritized because we're not forced to play this game
Yeah.
of, basically, even if you're in the system, even if you're whatever level you're at, you're still part of it, you're still in the game.
Yes. Yeah, that would be perfect. Again, that's using technology for our benefit. It's not like we want to go back to like churning butter and, we don't want to regress as a species. But it wouldn't be great if somebody cleaned our house and and like all of our laundry was done and all
Yeah.
of our needs, all of the chores were taken care of. And then we have these like luxurious days of just being together and
Yeah.
building, creating.
And
That's
that's what I mean. So like people are so obsessed with, and I love it. Like trad wives, and even like like really homesteading. And I kind of love that idea of, hey, like let's get off the grid.
yes.
Let's churn butter again.
Yeah.
And it's churning butter actually is kind of fun. It's not that hard. But should we be spending our time doing that versus other things when you could just have the one person who makes the butter or let a robot make the butter? Or I don't know. It's just interesting because the more technologically advanced we get, the more people have the aversion to it and go the totally other direction, like the way that Gen Z is now like wanting flip phones and just like rejecting social media, which I think is like genius and totally valid. Like thank goodness like Instagram didn't exist till I was like at the end of high school, I think.
Yes.
um because oh my gosh, would I've been all over that.
Yeah. The key, what I'm hearing in what you said is for me, freedom. The freedom to churn butter if you want to churn butter, and the freedom to not.
Yeah.
Right? So that is what I would love the future is like. I can get a robot to do it, or I can do it if it's like lighting me up. That's the future that I hope for all of us.
Yeah, like everyone loves sourdough. My sister makes amazing sourdough, and she loves there is something to humans get a lot of pleasure from labor, but it has to be, and I think this is what's so interesting with your work is like with their soul, it has to be coming from them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you for this beautiful conversation. I feel like we wrapped it in a bow at the end.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Serena, thank you so much. I so appreciate you coming on. And I feel like we could just keep talking forever, but I really love this conclusion. And do you want to just quickly tell people where they can find you?
Sure. So my website is Sabrina Sundari. It's Sundari, and I'm under Instagram on the same name. I have like free meditations on Insight Timer and some like videos on YouTube as well. But I also work with people one-on-one. So if you feel like you have a vision for your life and you're like, how do I get there? And you want to work on your power, intuition, or boundaries around how you can expand into this version of you that we need on this earth, talk to me.
Amazing. Thank you, Sabrina.
You're welcome.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review, follow us, or share it with a friend. Have a great day, and remember, you make the rules.